All right, so number one is probably the easiest. Oh, by the way, retest, sign up. If you fail to sign up by Friday, there will not be a test open for you, okay? I'm going to probably open it up next Wednesday. Anyway, this right here, I'm going to move the 6 over, it becomes a positive, and then divide by 3 and get 2. If I want to check it, I plug it back in. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. Any questions on how to work? Number one. Number two, I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to get 6x minus 6 plus 4. 21x plus 3. Draw a line. This right here is a negative 2. I'm going to subtract 6x. So when I subtract, that's going to be, I guess, 15x. Now I'm going to subtract 3 and get a negative 5. And then divide by 15 and get negative 5 over 15, which equals a negative 1/3. Any questions about what I did or how I did it? You got x's on both sides. You can't add them up. You got to get rid of the smaller one right here. Okay? All right, next, number 3. You have to have a least common denominator. What I would do is clear the denominator. Write that down. Clear the denominator. The least common denominator is 12. So I'm going to multiply everything by 12. So I'm going to put a 12 here, here, and here. Everything by 12. When I do that, 3 goes into 12, 4x, 4 times. 4 goes into 12, 3. 3 times this 3 makes 9. 2 times 12 is 24. Any questions so far? I add like terms, I get 13x. And unfortunately, it doesn't go evenly, which tells me maybe I messed up. So let me just double check it. I don't think I did. All right, any questions about what I said or what I did? Okay, let's keep moving. This one right here, you probably should clear the denominator. But you got to know what the least common denominator is. This one's already factored, so is that one. This one is actually x plus 2 and x minus 2. Now watch how you find the least common denominator. Pay attention to this now. You say, how many x minus 2's? 1. How many x minus 2's? 0. How many x minus 2's? 1. What's the greatest? 1. I didn't say 2. I said 1, 0, 1. The greatest is 1. How many x plus 2's? 0. How many x plus 2's? 1. How many x plus 2's? 1. What's the greatest? 1. This is your least common denominator. Any questions about the least common denominator? Now I'm going to multiply everything by this right here. So I don't really like to write it, but I will. So it's going to be x plus and x minus. X plus and x minus. X plus and x minus. Any questions so far? Now watch what happens. The bottom cancels. I get x plus 2. Equals. The x plus 2 cancels, and I get 3x minus 6. Because I got to distribute. On this one, all of this cancels, so I'm left with minus 6x. Any questions so far? Same principle as number 3, just a little harder. All right, let me think. So this right here is going to give me a negative 3x. what I'm going to do is add 3x, because actually 3x is smaller because it's a negative. So that gives me 4x plus 2 equals negative 6. I'm going to move the 2 over, that becomes a negative 2, which gives me a negative 8. And then I divide by 4 and I get a negative 2. Any questions on my work? Be honest, okay? You're going to have this on your midterm. But more importantly, you need to know how to do it. Any questions on that? All right, let's go on. This one right here, we really didn't do anything on area, but it's not a big deal. So look here. Area of a rectangle is length times width. So I take the length times the width, and I want to subtract this one because this is a whole. So minus that one. So it's going to be the length, which is x plus 4, times the width, which is x. So I'm going to distribute. So I get 4x squared plus 12x minus whatever this is. This is going to be x squared plus 4x. And when I distribute the negative, it's going to be a negative and a negative. And I'm going to get rid of this. So 4x squared minus 1x squared is 3x squared. And this one should have been 4x right here. So 12x and minus 4x is a plus 8x. And that should be the area. Any questions on how to do the area of that shaded region? Okay? You're taking the whole thing and cutting the inside out. And the way you cut it mathematically is subtract. Is everybody clear on that? It'll be on video if you want to look at it later. I'll post it. All right, copy down the rest of this. Copy all of that down. Okay, 30 more seconds. Okay, here we go. Watch and listen now. Make corrections, but process it in your head. This one is the 5th root. That means you need 5 of a kind. Well, 8 has 5 of a kind. I'm going to break that up into x5 times x3. Z to the 4th, you're 1 short. Okay? Day late, dollar short. You don't have enough. You need 5. 32, I think, is 2 to the 5th power. Anything that's 5 of a kind is coming out. So here I got 5 of these, bless you, so I take 1 out. Here I have 5 2's, so I'm going to take out a 2. So I'm left with 2x and then the 5th root of everything else that's left. x to the third and z to the fourth, and I guess that's it. Any questions on how to extract roots? The index is a 5. That's called your index. That means you need 5 of a kind. All right, next. This one right here, one of the most important things that you need to know is how to solve equations. And that's called literal equations. And if you look that up, that's what you need to know. All right, so here, I want you to get f by itself. So circle the f. Who can tell me how do I get f by itself? Anybody have any ideas? I want to get f by itself. Yes. All right, now I'm asking you and you're asking me. I mean, you could distribute. Anybody else has an idea? Okay, so what I'm going to do is not distribute. I'm going to get rid of this right now. So I'm going to multiply by 9/5, the reciprocal. But if I do that side, I got to do this one. 9's cancel, 5's cancel. So I get 9c over 5. Any questions so far? Really almost done. I'm left with f minus 32. All I got to do is add 32 and I'm done. So 9c over 5 plus 32 and I'm done. Any questions on that? Those are literal equations you have to be able to solve. If you go into electronics, you need to know how to solve equations. An electrician, you got to solve equations. Engineer, yeah, solve equations. All right, let's go on. This one right here, it says factor. Well, in order to factor, you got to get it equal to 0. So subtract 3. When you subtract 3, you get this. Okay, now, if I could divide everything by 2, and I can't, but if I could, it would get rid of that, make it real easy, but I can't. So here is how you do these. These are harder. It's 2 times 4, which is 8. So you want the factors of 8 that give you 9. Well, that's 1 times 8. You're going to substitute the 1 and the 8 in place of this. So you're going to be left with 2x squared, 1x, 8x, plus 4. They're both pluses, so we can put pluses. Any questions so far? Okay, so now we're going to do group factoring. Whenever you have 4 terms, here you can't factor anything out. I guess you could take a 1. So 2x squared plus x. Here you can take out a 4. So I'm going to do plus 4 times 2x plus 1. And I think I lost something. Let me think. Say it again. Thank you. She's right. Okay, because right now, this should be the same as this. And she's exactly right. I should have taken out an x. Thank you. Drop that down, get rid of that. So now, what I have is x times 2x plus 1, and then 4 times 2x plus 1. Better. Now I have this the same as this, so I'm going to take out a 2x plus 1, and I'm left with the x plus 4. And that's how you do group factoring. Any questions about that? I knew there was a problem when it didn't work out. So let's move on. These are harder. This one right here, let me think. All right, so to get rid of, we want the inside, we want that, but you got to get rid of this. So first thing you do is the square root. So you're going to get x minus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 7, and then all you do is add 3 and you're done. So it's 3 plus the square root of 7 and 3 minus the square root of 7. Any questions on that problem right there? Okay, next. This one right here, let me think, completing the square. Well, this one's easy. Next one's going to be harder. Okay, so here we go. Completing the square. Well, it's nice when the first one is a 1. To complete the square, you take half of the middle one, bless you, half of 2, which equals 1, and then you square it. Well, 1 squared is 1. So what you're going to do here is add 1 and subtract 1. When you add 1, this becomes a perfect square trinomial. So that's going to be x plus 1 quantity squared equals. This is a -7, but I'm going to move it to the other side, and it becomes a +7. Any questions so far? At this point, I'm going to do what I did just a moment ago. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And when I take the square root of both sides, I get rid of this, which is what I want. Okay. So I'm left with x plus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 7. I move this over here, so I get a -1. So I get -1 plus the square root of 7, whatever that is. I can use my calculator. And -1 minus the square root of 7. Any questions on how to do that right there? Completing the square. Make sure you know how to do that. The next one is harder because the first term has to be a 1 coefficient, and it's not. So you technically have to divide everything by 3, which is going to be messy. So here you get what you want. You get x squared. But now it's messy. Any questions so far? Okay? It's like when you cook for yourself, all right? And you will if you don't already do it. You know what you got to do, all right? And then you set yourself up, put your food out, maybe turn the TV on, get your drink, and you're ready, okay? We're all set up here. Now, you got to take half of this one squared. So half of 4/3 is going to be 2 goes into 2. That gives me 2/3. But then I got to square it. 2 times 2 is 4, so it's going to be 4/9. 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to add 4/9 and subtract 4/9. By adding 4/9, this becomes a perfect square trinomial. Should be anyway, hopefully. This right here, you got to have a least common denominator, so multiply by 3. That gives you 15 plus 4 makes 19. It's a -19/9, but you're going to move it over here, it becomes +19/9. Any questions so far? All right, at this point, it's going to be x minus whatever it was here before you squared it, which is 2/3, and we'll check it. 2/3 times 2/3 equals 4/9, so we're good. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing we did on all the other ones. We're going to take the square root to empty it out. When you take the square root and move the 2/3, you get a +2/3 plus or minus the square root of 19/9. These are harder. Nobody likes fractions, but there it is. Fractions are very important. Yes. Not yet. Any questions about this? Is everybody clear? We're good? All right, we'll do some more work tomorrow. You can go ahead and relax.